What day of the week is it today?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color tie are you wearing?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color's the carpet in front of you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to the Front Line with Joe and Joe Pasillo and Joe Resinello. And once more, brothers and sisters, let us go into the breach. Joe Resinello, we're talking about one thing today, and one thing only. I have a little part of me, I know you're going to disagree with me, I have a little part of me that thinks Anthony Fauci is going to end up in an orange jumpsuit, or he's going to commit suicide. He's going to kill himself. I don't think the second thing is going to happen because he's such an egomaniac and he feels like he's so Teflon. But we're going to play some clips today for all you guys out there listening to the Front Line with Joe and Joe. It's all about Fauci this week. Joe, this guy is an unbelievable liar, okay? We know that he lied about so many things. He's got the media backing him up. I watched a clip today before I went to Mass with Dana Bash and Robert F. Kennedy.
I saw that.
How nauseating is she? Because he's pointing out something that's true, but what do? They know they lied, so what do? They redefine terms. They evade. We're going to play a clip where Fauci's talking about science, and then when he got caught in a lie, he said, well, you know, the science evolved. Excuse me? So many lies, so many lives ruined because of COVID, as you point out on the show all the time, about how this was the greatest wealth transfer in American history, in world history probably, right, Joe? All right?
Probably. If it's America and it's the greatest wealth transfer in the history of America, it probably is in the world.
In the world. They just blatantly took away our constitutional rights. We're going to get into that in a little bit, okay? Just blatantly violated our rights. As Roman Catholics, we had a leadership in America, okay, that went along with this, that allowed the government, like Phil Murphy in Jersey, to shut down all the churches, while abortion clinics and liquor stores were able to be open as essential services, by the way. Liquor stores and abortion clinics were essential services. Joe, help me today, and then we'll get into this conversation.
What I want people to think about is, are we at this point as Americans able to objectively look at the crime that the government committed against its own people? I don't think we are, because it was a crime. They took a crisis. Now, we're not denying that people died. People died. If you had some type of comorbidity, like you had, I don't know, diabetes, you were 150 pounds overweight, you had some form of respiratory issue, or you were old and vulnerable, you could have died. There's no question about that. I'll even go this far, because I had 2 children during COVID. When I went to the hospital, I talked to a nurse. This is a major hospital in the New York, New Jersey metropolitan area. And the nurse said to me, I asked her straight out, she's a very nice person. She was working, so she's on the front line. So she's not giving me, the talking points of the media. She's not giving me the talking points of the scientists, the medical associations. She's working. She said to me, we have people in this hospital who had taken the shot and who have not taken the shot. More people are dying who have not taken the shot. This is what she told me. So what do I take away from that as just an objective person who I like to think I have some common sense? Was there maybe some efficacy to the shot? Probably. However, was it all the things they said it was? Absolutely not.
No.
That's a lie. What else? What else did they tell us? They basically did not fully vet the shot, and people did die as a result of it. That's undisputable. So they force you to take a shot that wasn't 100% effective, which is absolutely, I don't even think you can debate that. And because it wasn't fully studied, there was a risk to your life, and they were willing to take that without your consent.
Right.
That's how I break this down, Joe, and I'm trying to be very fair and level-headed here.
Listen. Let's back up what we're saying real quick, and then we'll come right back. Here, remember, I'm looking at this as larger picture. When I think of COVID, when I think of Fauci, I think the guys who have the red phone, like the bat phone, they picked up the phone and said, all right, this is our trial run for when we really down the road see how much we could push around people, how much we could put the boot in their face, how much we could erode their constitutional rights. Spread the word, get your people in the media, get your people in Hollywood, get your Chuck Todds and your Rachel Maddows, get Anthony Fauci, okay, to keep talking about science. Let's see how much we could control people. Oh, and yeah, by the way, let's see how much we could rob them in the process. We'll talk about that in a minute. I want everybody out there, if you ate breakfast, it's noon right now in Arizona, just hold your stomach, okay? Because it might be a little nauseating, these next couple clips. But watch this, and then we're going to come right back.
Please get vaccinated. If you know someone who's not vaccinated, find a way to convince them to get vaccinated. Literally, the only people dying are the unvaccinated. And for those of you spreading misinformation, shame on you. Shame on you. People are needlessly dying because of
Now we know that the vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person. A vaccinated person gets exposed to the virus. The virus does not infect them. The virus cannot then use that person to go anywhere else. It cannot use a vaccinated person as a host to go get more people.
People in America are not settled with the information that's been given to us right now. So I'm not going to be lining up taking a shot or a vaccination for something that wasn't clear in the first place. And then you all create a shot in miraculous time. It takes years to create vaccination.
Well, it used to take years.
Okay, it used to.
You know how many years were invested in this approach? About 20 years of science to get us to be able to do it.
20 years is not enough. And 9 months is definitely not enough for nobody to be taking no vaccination that you all came up with.
The only reason I'm talking to you right now, as close as we are, is that I've been vaccinated.
Right.
But if it allow thousands of people like you don't get vaccinated, you're going to let this virus continue to percolate in this country.
Now, here, let's break this down, okay? Chuck Todd, number one. Okay, first of all, everything you just saw, except for the black guy on the porch who told Fauci and that other woman exactly what was going through all of our minds at the time, okay? Leave him aside for a second. Rachel Maddow, Chuck Todd about to cry. And then we find out, Joe, what did we find out? We find out that it's all lies. And then Chris Cuomo to this day, he denied, he was on a panel show with Dave Smith. Dave Smith told him, you lied, Chris. You lied. You called ivermectin a worm, an animal dewormer. You poo-pooed everybody you disagree with. No. And Chris Cuomo tried to pull that, Italian tough guy thing, which he can't really do. He thinks he's a tough guy. Okay, all the lies are exposed, and we're gonna get to Fauci in a minute. But did you see how that guy on that porch told him exactly the way it is? Can't make a vaccine in 6 months. Sorry, can't do it. They were prepared for all of it. And the lies were the way they sold it to everybody. Joe, I got to hand it over to you.
It's funny how the guy, I believe that was in Washington, D.C. You could check me in the chat room on that. The guy in the ghetto got it right.
Yeah.
And all of the experts got it wrong. And he shared the same views of many people. Many Americans were skeptical. I was skeptical. I waited until the very end. I took the Pfizer shots, and the only reason why I took them, I could not get in my building to support my family. My wife and children did not have to take the shots. My children went to private school, so they didn't have to take it. And miraculously, nothing happened to them.
You think?
My wife did not take the shot because she was pregnant 2 times during COVID and was not going to be in work anyway, so she didn't have to take it. And nothing happened to her.
Right.
So this is my point. It was such a scam. And why did they do it? Why? Because Donald Trump could not be president again. And it changed the course of the election, not because of the shot itself, because it impacted the economy. Now let's step back for a minute, Americans. I don't care how you voted. I want you to think for a moment critically. They were willing to sacrifice countless Americans as far as how you put food on the table, how you cannot pay your mortgage, how you cannot maintain your business, just so Donald Trump would not be the president. And I will debate that against any living soul alive. That is exactly what the blob did in this country, i.e. the uniparty, i.e. the deep state. That is what they did. However you voted, call yourself whatever you want to call yourself, identify however you want to identify, they destroyed people. All because they did not want Donald Trump to be the president, and they used a crisis to their advantage. That's what happened, America. And if you're okay with that, I'll be honest with you. I don't know what to say.
Isn't that what happened in Pennsylvania? Didn't the secretary, correct me if I'm wrong, right? Is that the Secretary of State of Pennsylvania during the election usurped the power of the state legislature. The state legislature sued, okay, and went to the Supreme Court.
They didn't take the case.
What?
They didn't take the case.
They didn't take the case with a clear constitutional issue. John Roberts is a whole other story.
Oh, we could talk 5 days about that.
The premise was it's an emergency, okay, because of COVID. Okay. Well, we have to have the Secretary of State take over, because we can't have the legislature do anything because they're not acknowledging the emergency, okay, of COVID. All right. And they were able to say, well, we have to have the mail-in ballots and all this stuff. And John Roberts, I haven't used this word in a while. What a disgraziad John Roberts is. Shameful, shameful human being. Okay. For him to do that. Clarence Thomas or Alito or both of them told the state of Pennsylvania, you keep those ballots. You better keep them safe, because they wanted to hear that case, and Roberts sold this out. But they premised it, like you said, they wanted Donald Trump out. I agree with you on that, but I'm going to go back to my larger point. Joe, that was preparation for what's coming. That was preparation for what they're doing. We have a rise in this country of self-identified communists. You have the Democrat Socialists of America that want to abolish the Senate, abolish the Supreme Court. They want state ownership of the means of production. They're going to use a COVID-like crisis, but now they have a track record. They know how to keep people in line. And people have been enough. Joe, I'm telling you right now, they try it again. We will be in a full-blown civil war if they try it again. People are going to get shot if they try this again.
Let me just break down the economics of this a little bit further. Okay. During this time, people who worked for corporate America, I am one of them, my wife is one of them, simply just worked from their home. Nothing changed. I don't share this often, but I'm going to be forthright on this show. My life actually improved. I didn't have to go into New York City. I didn't have to pay for the bus. I got to stay with my family for 2 years and work, and my paycheck kept coming. So I'm not rich, but what I would call the laptop class, we'll call them, the corporate class, they continued to work. No change. Now, let's talk about the working poor. Let's talk about the bus driver. Let's talk about the aide who works in a cafeteria. Let's talk about the daycare worker. Let's talk about people who have to be in their location, who no longer were able to. They got devastated. Right. So not only was it a wealth transfer as far as the government picking and choosing winners and losers, it benefited a specific class of people versus another class of people, all because They did not want Donald Trump to be the president. Let me take it further. I had 2 children during COVID. My employer is in New York City. You're given nowadays, both the man and the woman get time off. I was off a couple weeks. The state of New York, on top of giving me my salary, sent me $900 a week, all of which is printed money that the country didn't have. I called my company. I said, why did I get this check? I'm getting paid. They're like, the state of New York. Why did they get that check? They're buying your vote. Meanwhile, because they gave out free money, they took your job away and they threw you a crumb, because $900 is nothing.
Right.
You're not going to live on $900. So they throw you a crumb, money the country didn't have. What did that do? It created inflation. That's why eggs were $14 a dozen. That's why right now a Big Mac meal, which is basically the food for arguably the working poor in America, is $13 for a Big Mac, fries, and a Coke. They destroyed our currency. What else did they do? Look at the average cost of housing. It went up $150,000.
Right.
That's what they did. All because they couldn't, in their mind, have Donald Trump as the president because he threatened the power base. And as far as how it affects you, I don't care. That is reality. What I'm saying is not political. This is reality. And if you can't accept reality, and if you're okay with everything I just said, I'm sorry. There's nothing anyone can do. There's not a politician. There's nothing. You can't even help yourself.
Right. You're exactly right. And the thing too is that we're going to play a few more clips for you here at the Frontline with Joe and Joe. We're talking about Dr. Fauci. We're talking about COVID. Joe, in my heart of hearts, I want to be a merciful person. I do. I went to Mass today. I prayed the divine mercy. I want to have a merciful heart. I hope he goes to jail for the rest of his life. It's going to be a short life because he's old. And I hope he repents publicly of what he did. Joe, he's responsible for the deaths of many, many, many people because of his lies. And, so let me, and by the way, while we're on it, okay, about his lies, just as a quick overview, all right, here's a couple just right off the top of my head. Gain of function research. Rand Paul's been nailing him for the last several years on that. We know he's lying through his teeth. His best response is, you don't know what you're talking about, Senator Paul. That's all he keeps saying. Rand Paul's a doctor, by the way. He's a doctor. He does know what he's talking about. You're a liar, Fauci, because you knew it was gain of function research. Okay, so that's number one. Masks. Fauci said, this was something that he said. He says, no, this was in March 2020. Okay, no reason to be walking around with a mask. Well, but he changed because they want to make sure that they get, again, it goes back to my point about control. They probably got to him and said, no. You better start pushing masks. He changed his tune on the masking. The lab leak. We all know now it was from China. All right. He lied about that. Social distancing. He said it sort of just appeared. There was nothing empirically studied about being 6 feet apart from somebody. And he says it just sort of appeared. The vaccines, lied through his teeth. Okay. School lockdowns, all of it. Okay. He lied about all of that. And he just, and now because he's caught in his lies, what does he do? He takes the fifth. Let's play a clip real quick and talk about this guy.
Not only Dr. Anthony Fauci, you're attacking science. Science and the truth are being attacked. Under the advice of my attorneys, I will invoke my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution to refrain from answering your questions.
The problem is that when regular guys like us, people out there that are watching the Frontline with Joe and Joe, when you open your mouth, here's the thing, and this is what he said to Rand Paul. You don't know what you're talking about. I got effing eyes. I could see all of you colluding with each other. I see the government with Holly. Sean Penn said that, or I forgot it was, well, Sean Penn did say on the Bill Maher show, he said, if you haven't been vaccinated, it's like you're walking around with a loaded gun pointed at my head. Talk about a lie, okay? I
actually think he believed it, Joe. They all
I don't. I think he's part of the smug elite who knew he was lying through his teeth, just like Fauci was lying through his teeth, just like Dana Bash and Chuck Todd and Rachel Maddow and all these people. They knew they were lying through their teeth because they want this was a test run. I'm going to go back to it a couple times in the show. This was a test run. The next crisis, they already are prepared, Joe. They did their test run. They know where they're going to get resistance. Why do you think they hate Elon Musk so much? Because they can't control the guy. Because on their next go around, when they try to do this again, and they will, okay, X is going to be the only place where you're going to be able to speak freely, unless the government arrests Elon Musk and shuts down Elon Musk or throws him in jail or something like that. If the platform is going to be allowed, it's the only place you're going to be able to speak, and a few others. But this is a test run, and we could see it all. We could see all of them. It's like those news clips where you see like all the reporters, Joe, and they're all in different boxes on the screen, and there's like 30 of them, and it goes from one to the other, and all 30 so-called journalists are all saying the same thing. And then you say to yourself, well, it sounds like they're reading a script. That was my point to you. What do you say?
I just add one other observation during this time. Obviously, the government picked and chose certain businesses that could be open, essential services, one of which was Lowe's, home goods. They allowed that to be open. I could recall going to Lowe's, which is near my home, to pick something up from my home. The line inside of Lowe's was 40 yards deep inside. Mm-hmm. Now, they had circles that you stood in to keep distant from the person next to you. But somehow the air in Lowe's is okay.
Right.
But the air in a grammar school, a public grammar school, isn't. Does that make any sense?
No.
Like, again, are we able as a people to objectively think anymore?
No. I'm sorry to cut you off, Joe, because I've said this at the front line with Joe and Joe a million times. This is an example of the outright insanity of people, ostensibly normal people, okay? When you ask that question, you remember that video of that woman yelling at the two kids over the
you remember that?
I remember grass. And they are socially distanced. They're throwing the football to each other, so they're more than 6 feet apart. They hopped the fence. They went and played on grass. They're in the open air. She's berating them. She's yelling at them. And here was the kicker line in the whole thing. She says, I hope you both die of COVID. That's what she said. So to answer your question, we know that it's people like her that allowed this. It's people like her that think Sean Penn is just a brilliant thinker, or Chuck Todd is a real journalist, or Rachel Maddow is a real journalist, or Anthony Fauci is a real scientist. Okay?
Let me just make one other observation that I want people to think about. Think about how objectively and effectively the United States government brainwashed a large percentage of the population through propaganda. If that does not scare you, I don't know what will. They convinced people. They were fully on board and convinced and terrified. So many people had mental illness issues because they were locked in their apartments.
How many people committed suicide, Joe?
And all of it didn't matter because we couldn't have Donald Trump as the president. I am just saying these things as objective observations. I'll be honest with you, I don't even know how you could dispute them.
You know, I want to say this. We're not going to be able to get to all of the clips of the senators. But I do want to play one from Bernie Moreno in a second. But I remember, Joe, what early on when we were doing this show, and that was around the time of COVID. COVID helped this show, quite frankly, because I wasn't working for that first few months. You weren't working, and we were able to do the show during the day. You know, and when we were on the Crusade channel down there in Louisiana during that time. But I remember saying at the time and thinking, and I believe it now, if you want the underlying problem, people think that you and I are just a bunch of banging the table Catholics, but underneath, and in fact, somebody in the chat room, I think it was Christian Princess, said it's a spiritual battle. Do you know what it told me? And I told you this. I don't know if you remember. What it told me back then was when that woman yelling at the two kids, the reaction that people had, people were not being rational. They were not using their rationality and their reason to think through all these things. Is because our culture has a good percentage of it. Our people have a good percentage of the population that have no hope. They were so fearful of this little freaking scrumbiad virus, okay, that this woman was yelling death, wishing death on two kids playing with a football. Or people were glued to their TV to wait for the next thing Chuck Todd was going to say, or Chris Cuomo or Don Lemon was going to say. There's no hope in people. Because everybody looks to the ground. They don't look up and use the reason that God gave them to say, hold on, something's effing going wrong here. And if I Joe, not for nothing, I've said this before. I'm not the Lord's most courageous creature. I'm not, okay? But I said to my wife, I said, babe, listen, this is all a bunch of lies. And as soon as I can, I'm getting back to work. As soon as they call me back, I'm getting back to work. And I'm getting out there. I said, because if I die, I die, babe. It's going to happen at some point. I don't want to die because of this COVID thing, okay? But at the end of the day, I don't fear death. I don't fear death because I am a Christian. Okay. But do you know how many people, Joe, were hopeless? That's why they had so much fear. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, to your point, if you don't believe in nothing and your wealth can't protect you because there's something in the air, it's going to terrify you. And I do think that was very, very visible with people. I mean, I could recall someone I worked with at the time when we had to go in, and this is in like 2022, and I only had one of the two shots. Do you know he didn't want me to stand next to him?
Yeah.
This is the craziness, and he was serious. He was completely terrified. And this is what they did to people. And it's all now coming out. Why do we tolerate this? You see, Joe, this is what I'm saying, because here's the deal. To this day, Fauci is a hero.
Yeah.
To the left, because what he got over on the American people permitted Joe Biden to get into the White House. He is a hero.
Yes, he is.
And
yes, he is.
Even though some of them have to eat their words, what he helped them to do behind closed doors, in my view, is probably cheered. It was worth it.
Oh, no. I agree with you 1,000%. It was absolutely cheered because he played his part. All these people, media people, Hollywood people, government people, Burks, whatever with us. What did Mike Church call her? Scarf lady. Okay. Deborah Burks, right? Another one, a doctor. They all got their script and they played their parts very, very well. And we're still suffering the like you mentioned about inflation. All that money was supposed to be returned to the government or the Fed and get off the books. All that money's still floating out there.
Let me just add one more thing to this.
Go ahead.
What this did, because of COVID, because of Donald Trump's elections, I no longer trust the United States government.
Oh,
I'm going to say this publicly. I used to trust the United States government. It opened my eyes to something. Now, again, I'm not a part of MAGA, but I do have eyes. The United States government went after, they tried to kill him 4 times. They tried to lock him up.
Yep.
They arrested him. Watching all of what has taken place in the last 10 years in this country, I will never trust this country again. I will never trust the United States of America as long as I am alive because of what they did. Because I have eyes and I watched it.
Right.
And that is reality, and I am not the only one. So that's more harm that they did to this country.
Listen. Real quick shout out. We have some new people, Joe, that are watching the show today here at the Frontline with Joe and Joe. God bless you guys. Christian Princess, I mentioned her earlier. Thanks for sharing. She said she's going to share this on her channel. Thank you so much. She says, what about people forced to stay in hospitals on ventilators while families were desperately trying to remove them from hospitals? My brother-in-law's father, who was a healthy man, okay, he had gotten pneumonia, and he went to the doctor in Queens. Okay, he went to the hospital. My brother-in-law told him, "Do not intubate my father. I do not put a tube down his throat." Okay, he's here. Treat him the way you normally treat it. They rejected his orders that he told them. They intubated him. 3 hours later, he died. 3 hours later. You know Joe. You met my brother-in-law, Joe. Another brother-in-law, Joe. His father died because of that, because they put people on ventilators. We all know what they did. I want to play this clip. We all know what they did, and it's all very frustrating. But it's about time that we had. Well, now's the appropriate time to have this conversation. Somebody's got to go to jail, and it can't be some sort of staffer. You asked me, Joe, when I think this country is going to change as far as our government is concerned. I want to play a clip. I'm not going to play the whole thing because it's long. I want to play a clip from Senator Bernie Moreno. Joe, we're going to try to reach out and get this guy on our show. He's a senator from Ohio, I believe. All right. This is the way you need to talk to all these people. Decorum is gone. Civility is gone. This is the way you got to talk to people.
Not stand idly on the side and watch this happen. It was about 6 years ago today that I decided I'm going to give up my businesses, sell them all, run for office, run for the United States Senate. Here I am sitting in front of you 6 years later saying, who the fuck do you think you were for doing that? It is a total disgrace what you did to this country. And if my Democrat colleagues are standing there defending you, I hope the voters of the United States of America watch the clips of every one of you doting on a guy who was more interested in being a celebrity than saving American people. I will make it my mission to make certain that every single one of those Democrats who did that will see that clip over and over and over again. Because there is no defense of what you did. You may have had a 50-plus year legacy of public service, but it ends in total and complete disgrace. So let me ask you an opportunity to answer one question. Will you apologize, just apologize, to the people who you harmed through your actions? Will you say, do you have the dignity to just say you're sorry?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
So you won't apologize to the military members who Joe Biden summarily dismissed from the military for not taking the vaccine?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Did you see the look on Fauci's face?
He looked defeated, actually.
See, your soul and what's good. Now, I want to believe nobody's beyond repentance, okay? And we'll pray for Anthony. And I mean that. I'm not saying that in some sort of like a half-hearted way. I'm going to pray for Fauci and pray that he repents and comes public and shows some sacrifice at the end of his life to expose the lies that he was a party to. But in the meantime, that's the way you got to talk to him. Because like you said, did you see his face? See, what's going on in your soul, Joe, shows up in your face. He sat there, he looked down, probably thinking, I'm getting ready to take the Fifth Amendment, but you could see it in his face. He knew everything that Moreno was saying is true. Everything that Ron Johnson was saying is true. Everything that Rand Paul was saying was true. And where are the Democrats? Not even there. They're such effing a-holes. I promised you I wouldn't curse on the show. But that's what they are. Because the gig is up. Hopefully more of this happens. Hopefully Fauci feels some sort of real pressure, maybe a conscience, and maybe does apologize and list all the things that they, not just him, they all lied about. Until that, and guys like Bernie Moreno are guys that can make that happen. Unfortunately, you have a bunch of senators on the Republican side who are not like Bernie Moreno. What are your thoughts, Joe?
Well, I think we have one more clip, and I just want to segue into it. It's with, do we have the clip about the emails that got basically deleted?
From Rand Paul?
Correct.
We have the Rand Paul clip.
Okay, let me just segue into this, and I want everyone to
Please.
pay a lot of attention to it. Emails were deleted by Fauci's, I guess, staff. I'll just let you basically think that over. If you're so innocent, why would you delete emails? If I did that at work, I would be fired. Let me just phrase it that way. Joe Biden pardoned Anthony Fauci before he left office. Why? Why would Joe Biden? Because he thought the witch hunt would go, he cared about him. Anthony Fauci should go to jail. Anthony Fauci will not go to jail. I will be amazed if Anthony Fauci goes to jail. Once again, I want the American people to objectively take a step back. I don't care how you voted. How is that possible?
Well, listen, don't say never, because there are some legal issues, and then we'll play the clip from Rand Paul. Aside from the emails, there are some legal issues about him giving an opening statement and then refusing to answer any questions. Now, it's a legalistic thing. I don't know, but he made
Let me also,
a statement.
Okay.
He made a statement where he asserted several things and then refused to answer any questions that the senators might have. He might have committed the crime of contempt of Congress right there.
Let me just also add something, and this is very critical of the Trump administration. Why is this happening now? Ask yourself that. Why is Anthony Fauci getting paraded in front of the American people now? I'm going to tell you why. Because gasoline is over $4 a gallon. And the Iran war is a disaster. That's why. That's why. It's a distraction. That's why. And this is another thing. Are we able to see through the fog? Because Anthony Fauci, if he does not go to jail, how do we possibly believe in the system? I want people to think long and hard about that.
No, you're right. A quick story from history. It's a theory that you remember the Lindbergh kidnapping?
Sure.
Okay. Just before that happened, the Japanese had invaded China, right? They called it the rape of Nanking. The Japanese were brutal. They raped women. They killed everybody. It was a horrible, horrible thing. And it was on the front page of the New York Times every single day. And one of the theories is that it was a way, the Lindbergh kidnapping was a way to take them off the front page and put the Lindbergh kidnapping on the front page. Why? So that we would get distracted and not think about the fact that the Japanese were committing atrocities against the Chinese. It happens all the time. We are on a story, and then all of a sudden, the powers that be want the story to go away. We don't want people looking at it, and what do? Oh, let's put this on the front page. So on one level, I agree with you. Here's Rand Paul, and then we're going to wrap it up.
Congress demanded accountability. You hid behind the narrowest possible definition. You can't have it both ways. Your conduct concerning federal records raises further questions. It is a crime to destroy federal records. Yet our investigation reveals your assistant diligently reported that she deleted tons of emails. In 2024, you testified that you did not delete federal records. Who's telling the truth, you or your assistant? The committee has obtained repeated instructions from you telling federal officials to delete communications. On February 2nd, 2020, one day after Origin's call, you told Francis Collins, please delete this email after you read it. The committee asked for your voluntary cooperation to come today. Your appearance had to be compelled by subpoena. You're here today under duress. You're here today because of the court ordering it. President Biden issued you a sweeping pardon extending back to 2014, the same pardon he gave to his son Hunter. A pardon may protect a person from criminal prosecution. It doesn't rewrite history. It does not erase documents. It does not convert a misleading statement into a truthful one. And it does not prevent Congress from establishing what happened. There will be another pandemic. There will be another crisis. And there will again be officials who insist that uncertainty must be hidden for the public's own good. They will demand obedience. They will invoke science. I am the science, as though it were a commandment. They will argue that government officials cannot be questioned because questioning them would undermine public trust. They have it backwards. It is secrecy that destroys trust. It is arrogance that destroys trust. It is censorship that destroys trust. And it is the refusal to admit error that destroys trust. That loss of trust may be your most damaging legacy. Trust can't be ordered. It has to be earned. No scientist is above scrutiny. No government official is beyond accountability. And no public servant has the right to treat the suffering of millions of Americans as a footnote to his preferred version of history.
You know what one of my biggest regrets about Donald Trump is? Okay, and he's done some good things in his second term. Don't get me wrong, and I quite frankly would vote for him again. Maybe less enthusiastically, but I would, especially given the state of the Communist Party of America, also known as the Democrats. What I don't like about him is he alienated people like Rand Paul and like Thomas Massey. He made them his enemy. He's done it a lot, and I wish to God, I pray to God that he really stops doing that, because if you had people in the House and in the Senate like Bernie Moreno, like Rand Paul, like Thomas Massey, and like many others, okay, there are good people there, okay, not on the Democrat side, but there are good Republicans, then things could change, and Fauci and others would end up in an orange jumpsuit, but that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen for the simple reason that, you know, we're not going to get into voter integrity and all the things about the SAVE Act and all that on this program. But we need something that's going to give us the ability to elect people like this, who at the very least have some common sense. Joe, I'll give you some final thoughts on the Fauci debacle.
Clearly, in the United States of America, there are two different levels of justice. If anyone thinks otherwise, you're simply naive. It's absolutely a reality. And I am sick and tired of these dog and pony shows in Congress, in the Senate, where people have unarguably have committed a crime and nothing happens. Yet, Joe Resinello, if I drive in the wrong lane on a highway, get a ticket, and it affects my insurance, and I am penalized. That is reality. And this is another takeaway from this outside of the Epstein debacle, which took place. Let's just not blame Donald Trump on that. There were 4 presidents who were aware of the Epstein mess, and 3 of them were Democrats.
Yeah.
There are 2 tiers of justice in America. And Fauci, nothing is going to happen to him. This is my opinion. And it's a disgrace.
I never
and
usually
it should terrify people.
It should. It should. You're absolutely right. I never want to wish you wrong, Joe. I hope you're wrong. I hope something happens that's going to be dramatic, where they hold him over a barrel, where his immunity doesn't mean shit. Sorry for my language. Okay. And he ends up in prison. And the only thing that could keep him out of prison is he has to make a public statement, a very lengthy one. He needs to recant all his lies. He needs to expose the whole thing. I don't see that happening. But anyway, this conversation is to be continued. And we're going to be talking about it more. We're going to be keeping our eye on the Senate and on Tony Fauci. Let's hope that the truth ultimately comes out. So great conversation, Joe Resinello. Thank you all. Thanks, all you new viewers out there. Thank you, Christian Princess, for sharing and encouraging others to share. Help us to get out to a wider audience wherever you are. We will be doing another show today, just to let you guys know on another topic. So you might catch us in a little bit. So remember, till the next time we go live every Sunday, remember till the next time that our conversation is your conversation, and that conversation is going on everywhere. We'll talk to you soon.